Yeah, YouTube is consistently our poorest performer, and they pull a lot of my stuff because I am a conspiracy theorist, tinfoil hat wearing person. So they you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that, and so. But Apple and Spotify.
Have you tried Rumble?
Dude, I tried Rumble and I just couldn't get traction there.
Okay.
You know, everybody thought Rumble would be the next big thing, but I feel like so many people are already all about YouTube. Everybody has the YouTube app. I mean, it's through Google, you know? And so YouTube is so huge that that's really the platform you want to be on if you want to have any type of success with your videos. But then they're getting censored all the time. You know,
demonetize, pull you.
Yeah. And the weird thing is they recently, and I heard this from a lot of other people that host like either like video blogs or podcasts, that YouTube recently went back through everything and pulled a lot of stuff. And that happened to me too. A bunch of stuff just got pulled from several years ago. And it's like, man, they want to go through everything with a fine tooth comb again. It's kind of bizarre.
Josh was saying that. They're going back years, yeah.
Yeah. So, and bro, I don't know if you've listened to the podcast or not, but the way I do it, we just sit down and hang out.
Cool.
We have a conversation. We're both jiu-jitsu guys. So inevitably the conversation is going to go, it's going to go to jiu-jitsu at some point, whether people want it to or not. But, I'm intrigued with your mission and your story. And I think it's an important one to be told right now because everybody with children will agree with me. I hear this all the time that public education is failing. And it's not just failing with the inability to educate our children, but it's failing because not only are they're not being educated to what I think we should be able to have expectations that they are, but they're also filling their head with a bunch of garbage.
Yeah.
And, it's something as parents, I think we should be able to have the expectation that the Department of Education will teach our kids reading, writing, math, and physical education, health. Like there's a bunch of things that I think are reasonable, but they're so far outside of that now that I had to pull all my kids, and a lot of my friends have pulled their kids because we're not comfortable with them being part of what feels like an indoctrination system.
It just wasn't even an option for my sons.
Yeah.
So we thought we were going to homeschool, but then I ran into Matt and realized I can set up an entire school and not just help my sons through the process. I have a daughter on the way too, so sons and daughter. But other parents had the same concerns I did.
Yeah.
I can offer them a path.
And so, yeah, you reached out to me and you talked to Tim Kennedy and what's his partner's name? Matt
Beaudreau. Yeah.
Matt Beaudreau, and are partnering with them and building an Apogee school here in Washington State.
Yes.
In Woodville.
Yep.
And, you asked if you could come out to my academy and talk to some of the jiu-jitsu parents just to help get your name out there and spread the word. And that happened last week. And bro, I got a lot of positive feedback just from that. That wasn't the biggest group of people, but people were impressed by that. One of my students is actually an educator, and he's like, hey, once this takes off, pass to your friend that I might be interested in being part of that. And I said, you pass it to him,
Yeah, Wes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to Wes for like 90 minutes at Starbucks the other day.
And bro, that dude's a stud.
Yeah.
He was a high level athlete. He was my boy's coach in soccer. And so just a good human being and a tough, like the type of men that we want influencing the next generation.
Absolutely.
And not just Wes, but a lot of other people were like, just that little brief introduction, and you kept it short, but it got their wheels turning.
Right.
And I think that's what's important right now. And that's why I said, bro, hop on the podcast.
I tried to get my why out there and people connect with that and they can understand why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And they relate.
Well, dude, tell the why here, because as soon as you said that, I was like, okay, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Well, just going back to when I was a kid, 4, 5, 6 years old, like I was super excited to go to school. I wanted to learn everything about everything, and school is supposed to teach me. Like dinosaurs are really cool, the solar system. And I mean, when I got to school, like I couldn't sit still for 6 hours. I couldn't listen to somebody drone on about anything for more than 5 minutes. So I found myself medicated, sometimes pretty much to the point of zombification. Like it wasn't fun.
How old are you?
6.
No, I'm saying right now.
I'm 39.
Okay, so we're roughly the same age. So this was mid 80s or late 80s?
Early 90s.
Early 90s.
Yep.
Okay. And yeah, that just became, hey, this is normal. Your little boy likes jumping around and playing games. Let's give him drugs.
Yeah. So, yeah. There's a story. I don't remember it, but a teacher told my mom that I came to school one day in like second grade and looked at my chair and couldn't figure out how to sit in it. I'm like, Mom, like, any red flags there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we changed your medication from Wellbutrin to Dexedrine. I'm like, oh.
Man. So when you were having those, I mean, they call it ADHD or whatever. What did they call it back then? It had a different name, right?
ADHD.
It was ADHD? Yeah. Does the school reach out to your parents and say, hey, Patrick is a little hyperactive. You should probably have him looked at by a professional? Is that how that process goes?
And then all the professionals prescribe medication.
I wonder if they're in cahoots. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't surprise me for a second if it's just a big revolving door of everybody taking care of each other.
Right. The FDA and the Department of Education or whatever. Yeah. The highest levels. And
so you were on different drugs than pretty much your entire childhood, huh?
Yeah. Until high school when I just decided I'm not taking it anymore. Prescribe all you want. They're going in the trash can. I'm not doing it.
Well, I mean, I believe like our parents were the last generation that really put a lot of weight in what they were being told from professionals. You know what I mean? Like your doctors and your teachers. Whereas like, I feel like a lot of people now, if it's like, hey, put your kid on drugs, it'd be like, not a chance, you know?
No, but like you said, now they're confusing the kids with other stuff.
Yeah,
so they're still not teaching them stuff they need to know to be successful at life. They're just confuse them and distract them with other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not drugs anymore. It's identities and whatnot.
And dude, another sad thing about the public education system is it's like, let's say you were a little different. Let's say you did have like crazy amounts of energy. You were a harder child to communicate to or to control. I don't think drugs are the answer, even if that were the case. Like, you know, like I think it's perfectly normal for little boys to have tons of energy. But let's say you were like a rare case that was almost unmanageable. Probably try some other things first, right?
Yeah, you can still harness that energy into something great.
The girl that I dated all through high school was dyslexic, and a lot of teachers were like, it felt like she kind of inferred like she was looked at like she was a lost cause or hopeless. And then she worked with some special teachers that taught her different learning mechanisms that work for people with dyslexia. And now she's a fucking scientist at a cancer research center. So it's like, just because you're different doesn't mean you're stupid or doesn't mean you can't learn. It just means like there may be a different approach, you know?
You're just saying that word, you can't learn. Like at 6 years old, I was told I have a learning disability. Like just the words, like a learning disability, you can't learn. Like that's.
And go back in time now and say, well, I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu now. So apparently I can't learn anything, right?
I picked up jiu-jitsu pretty fast. I learned a lot of life lessons on the mat as well.
Of course, man. Yeah. So then this being your entire childhood, when you stopped taking the drugs in high school, did it kind of change how you navigated through school?
It did, yeah. But I focused most of my energy on wrestling because I was done with school. Completely disenfranchised with the system and still am. And that's why I'm so loyal to wrestling and I love wrestling. And I showed up here with no gi today. I'm more of a wrestler, grappler than a gi jiu-jitsu guy. But yeah, it changed everything. And I was able to connect with my peers more than I was the last 10 years too. And I realized that none of them were excited about school anymore either. They hated it. A lot of them were convinced they were stupid as well. So yeah, I wasn't the only one there.
And where was this at?
Westbrook, Maine.
Westbrook, Maine. Yeah. Okay.
Class of 2002.
But it seems like I honestly think you could pull a sample out of almost any high school
anywhere
in the country and hear the same story.
Yep.
You know. And so, did you move on and do any college or anything after that, or were you just done with school for a while?
I went to tech school to learn a trade. I was an electrician for 10 years or so.
Okay.
I just didn't know what else to do. So.
Yeah. Kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
You know what though? Like, don't we all fall into stuff?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. How long you said you did that for 10 years?
I did. It's like split. I did it from 05 to 08 and then again from 15 to last August.
Okay. And then that takes you up to, did you put that in the rearview mirror because of this new mission?
Yeah. I never loved it. I just didn't know what else to do. And, some people love working with their hands, and that's awesome. It's just nuts and bolts don't excite me.
Yeah.
So yeah, especially when you see the condition of our next generation and their education, and I think I have something to offer here, and I can really help out. So
yeah,
nuts and bolts weren't doing it for me.
Something you feel passionate about.
Yeah.
Well, bro, we were just talking to your buddy out front, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, I'm not in love with my job anymore, but I don't know what else to do.
Right.
And I talk about that very often on the podcast, because there are so many people that are in that place right now. And it's like, dude, this is your life, right? And I mean, who am I to talk? I was a 9-to-5er stuck in a job that I didn't love for a very long time too, but I did end up breaking that cycle. And I'm here to tell you, if you can figure out a way to break that cycle, just the day-to-day happiness that you carry it's exponentially different than what you did as a 9-to-5er, because at the end of the day, you have to give your life force energy to something. And if you're giving it to something that is not feeling rewarding or giving you any pride, it just tears you down.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's what they want people to feel. Go be a worker bee, go do your thing. And it doesn't matter how it's fulfilling you as a human being, but man, like, this is our shot, He
was talking about not knowing what to do next. And I know, as an Apogee parent, because he wants to send his kids to my campus, he's going to be going through the men's mentoring program. And I'm pretty confident in a year with leadership from Matt Beaudreau and the network at Apogee mentoring program, he can find something that he's interested in.
So let's break down Apogee and the different programs, and then, like you said, the men's mentoring program, and how they're all interconnected. Because is that something you either require or encourage parents to do, or?
It's a requirement. We want the parents to lead their children by example, get in there and prove that they're continuing their education as well. Nobody's going to check their homework, but it's going to be obvious who's doing the work and who isn't.
Yeah. Okay. And is that something that's Apogee wide, or is that something that you want to incorporate?
Apogee wide, all 50 schools launching next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just for someone that's never heard of Apogee, take it away.
All right. So Apogee is the highest summit of a mountain. So perfection.
Okay.
You never achieve perfection, but we're always striving. We're always reaching to be better. So we'll just start with what the name Apogee means to me. But I'm opening a campus for 5 to 11-year-olds, and we'll continue on the men's mentoring program right now. As parents enroll their kids, they will be in the program as well. They're in the game. So it's for anybody that wants to level up in any way. If you want to level up as a husband, as a father, as an entrepreneur, in your faith, in your physical health, anything. So in my network, I'm in class 2. We have CEOs, people that have been already running multiple companies, but they feel like they're lacking attention to their family because they're too focused on. So CEOs can level up, and there's Olympians, and there's one dude, this was probably the most inspirational story. He posted to our workplace that he escaped homelessness. He was excited to share with the group that he just signed a lease. So it's truly for anybody that's looking to level up anywhere.
So when you say class 2, in order to open an affiliate school, you have to be part of the Apogee program?
Yeah.
Okay.
I might have confused a lot of people. The men's mentoring program, there's a class launched every quarter.
Okay.
So it started last year in January 2023, and I went in April 2023 in class 2. So we're in class 5 right now.
And is that a online presence, or is that something you physically attend?
It's online, and there's Zoom calls and a workplace, which is a Facebook platform, which I'm a little uncomfortable with, but.
Are you not, you're not a social media guy then?
I'm not a social media guy. And yeah.
Now I've heard you mention the men's program. Can single moms send their kids to Apogee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And do they have to be part of, you want them? I mean, are all parents able to enroll in this thing, or is it specifically a men's program for the parents?
So enrolling parent and their spouse.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Now, but if it's a woman that identifies as a man, she's good.
She's going into Apogee Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So you gave birth to that kid. We're pretty sure you belong in Apogee Women.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah. You actually are going to operate in the realm of reality,
right?
Which I like.
Yeah. It used to be Apogee dads, but Matt noticed a little pushback when we said men for the first time. So he's like, no, like we're gonna stay in reality. We're pretty sure we know the difference between men and women. Like Apogee men, Apogee women.
Yeah. I mean, bro, that right there shows how out of touch public education is, and even continued education, because did you see that show What is a Woman?
Oh yeah.
With Matt Walsh?
Yes.
He's talking to college professors and is like, can you tell me the difference between a man and a woman? Well, that's a very subjective question, and here's why. And it's like, dude, when we have people that are supposed to be leading from the front and teaching the next generation, and they can't even answer that question, it's hopeless. And then they were getting all offended too.
We saw it in confirmation of a Supreme Court justice.
Uh-huh.
Do you know the difference between a man and women? No, I'm not a biologist.
Yeah. Dude. And you know what's funny? I always think about this is like, when you buy a puppy, right? Every time you buy a puppy, like I bought a Jack Russell, and they said, hey, the litter has 3 girls and 4 boys. What kind of puppy do you want? Oh, we want a little boy. All right. How do those people navigate buying a puppy?
Yeah.
It's like, and here's the weirdest part. Both sides of this argument understand that you guys are playing this weird little game.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
This is the trap I think we're even falling in right now.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Where we're talking about this rather than like the leadership void for the next generation.
100%,
like,
man.
That's where we need to be focusing.
And like, it's so refreshing to see a group of people that are so done with all of the nonsense that you're taking the lead to steer the country right in the correct direction. We need that. Everybody knows we need it.
Yeah.
And now we have some people that are stepping up and doing it, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Was it Matt or Tim Kennedy, the one that kind of initially came up with this idea? Or was it a partnership of some sort?
It's a partnership.
Okay.
Matt Beaudreau is a educational wizard.
Okay.
So he's been involved in education at all levels. He's launched, I don't know how many schools, over 100. And they just partnered up because Tim saw the need for leadership and Matt is educational.
Got it.
Yeah.
So he already has, when you say 100 schools, under the Apogee banner?
No, sir.
Okay. Just different schools.
Yeah.
Understand.
He worked with Acton Tracer Academy
in
the past, and now he sees he wants to involve the whole family a little more. That's why the mom and dad are in the game too.
Got
and he
it.
wants to put a focus on physical fitness as well. He felt Acton Tracer was missing those 2 points. So
I see.
We opened Apogee to really put a focus on physical education.
You know, that's another interesting part of our society where we have separated physical health from mental well-being.
Yeah, we're putting it back together.
And it's strange that people think like the brain is somehow not part of the body.
Right.
You know? And it's been proven by physical training and good nutrients and taking care of the physical body, your brain actually performs at a higher level. Who would have thought, right?
Physical fitness is a non-negotiable in Apogee. Like you got to work on it.
What is how is that going to be like part of the daily curriculum? Like kids show up and they work out together?
There'll be daily calisthenics. There'll be 2 to 3 hours of playtime, an after-school jiu-jitsu program.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think
we're going to educate them on nutrition. We're not going to like ding the parents if they bring Skittles like 2 days in a row or whatever. But we do want to see healthy snacks. We'll encourage healthy snacks for sure.
Well, and dude, something interesting on this for the month of January. I actually let my kids have a cheat weekend because we went on a little family vacation last weekend. But outside of last weekend, the month of January, the family is doing Whole30 together.
Nice.
Which means for 30 days, you are only eating whole foods. So, I mean, and here's the thing. They can still eat rice and potatoes and fruits and vegetables and nuts. So it's not like I'm not putting them on carnivore or anything that's like crazy. I actually am a proponent of carnivore, so I shouldn't call it crazy. But I also understand an 11-year-old doesn't need to be put on carnivore. They should be able to have apples and cherries if they want, right? And my 12-year-old, it's always changing. She said to me the other day, she said, have you noticed anything after getting rid of all processed foods and sugar? And she goes, I don't get angry as easy anymore.
Nice.
And it's like, dude, it's the 15th. It's only been 2 weeks. And she's already feeling a change in herself. And it's crazy that we don't teach that to our children.
Big difference between food and food products for sure.
Yeah. And like, and my kids are in a private school. So like and I don't really know like what the numbers are with obesity in children, but even in their school, when I pick them up, there's so many kids that are unhealthy. And it's weird that that's not like a focal point, you know?
Yeah.
I just saw a video recently where a lady was, and she claims to be a doctor, where obesity is not your fault, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Let's just push less accountability and see how that works out for everybody. So when you decided to be part of Apogee and you reached out to those guys, I'm curious, do you have to have a background in jiu-jitsu to be picked up?
No, you don't have to.
It's just
But they like
helpful.
To see it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's encouraged to pick it up. I was just down in Austin, Texas for an Apogee like family reunion in December.
Okay.
And Tim hosted us at his sheepdog gym. And there's so many people that, this is my first time ever rolling. But it was cool. They put on the gi or the rash guard and they tried it out. So hopefully they're hooked now.
Was your knee already hurt then?
Yeah.
So you didn't get to roll with Tim?
No. Tim wasn't there for the rolling session. But
okay.
I just played guard and braced up and played guard a bit.
I've heard rolling with Tim is just
maybe next year.
Miserable.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, you watch him fight in the UFC and you see his style and his pace and he's just relentless.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
it's got that more of a wrestling jiu-jitsu base.
Yeah.
That I picked up training at Randy Couture's gym. So
yeah, you guys will love each other's style.
Yeah.
You watch him fight Hodger Gracie, who's one of the best jiu-jitsu players of our generation. And he just, for lack of a better term, just outworked him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So how many of the schools have been up and running and like, is this kind of like a new idea with the Apogee thing? Or do you have a couple schools that have been going for a few years so you can kind of see how the process works?
The only school that's up and running is Tim's in Cedar Park, Texas.
Okay.
So there's 50 of us ready to go this fall. We're holding out and all launching together as a network.
Oh, I see. So he's kind of the guinea pig then.
Yeah.
Got it. And what can you say about his school as far as like how it's going or the curriculum or feedback or anything?
So it seems like there's been great feedback. Parents love it. I get messages from parents that send their kids there and they're glad to see them open up in Washington. Like, I'm originally from Washington, but I moved here for Apogee.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they moved 1,700 miles for this education. And they're glad to see that I'm opening up here in Washington.
And dude, I don't know if that's that uncommon because I'm losing
your kids, man.
I am losing my star jiu-jitsu player, this kid named Rocco, who's a stud, because his parents sought a really high quality private school and it's in Missouri.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not out of the realm of possibility for people to do that.
Yeah.
And so that's like, I guess, how big is his gym or his school currently
I think he said there's 150 students.
Okay, that's decent size then.
Yeah. He's been pretty honest with the owners that it almost fell apart the first year. Because despite wanting to do something completely different, people you hire still have like the indoctrination of the cult, and they're like subconsciously pulling it back to what they know.
Yeah.
So it almost completely fell apart the first year. And I think he said I'd fire everybody. Like,
and just clean house and start
fire
over,
everyone.
huh?
Like, my mistake. Like, wrong hires. You're all fired. So it's cool that he's sharing that. And I'd love to avoid that. I don't want to have to fire everybody, but.
What is it going to take for you to launch? You have all that mapped out, like how big of a staff, how big of a facility, all that stuff?
We want 30 students, 30 to 50 students, 30 on the low side, 50 on the high. I want 2 guides. I'll be one. I think it's important for me to get in there and lead by example the first few years.
Yep.
And 2 assistant guides. So there shouldn't be any more than probably 15 young heroes to a guide or an assistant guide.
Okay. Now, how it kind of is in my kids' school, the teachers really wear all the hats. And is that kind of how that's going to be structured there? Meaning like, or are you going to have specific teachers to teach math or to teach English? Or is it everybody?
No, we just have guides and coaches. We're just going to come meet the student where they are and guide them on their path.
Okay. Are you going to have are you going to partner with anybody as far as like curriculum and things like that? Or are you building all of it?
So Matt Beaudreau and a lady in Idaho named Gloria Nagel are putting together the curriculum.
Okay.
So Matt and Tim are super cool. They give me freedom to do whatever I feel my community needs. I can change whatever I want, do what I want. but they got a proven curriculum that I'm not going to mess with without any like serious justification. So,
well, and isn't that necessary for it to be like accredited, or how do you,
that's a word. That's a sticking point.
is that a stick?
Yeah, we're not accredited.
Okay.
And accreditation just means you send money to somebody to send you a certificate that says you're accredited.
Well, like if you graduate from Apogee and want to join the military,
Yep.
and they say, "Hey, I need a high school diploma," do you have the equivalent to
Yes.
suit those needs?
So these are technically, the way I understand it, they're homeschooling families.
I see.
So they're all going to say, I'm homeschooling my kid, and then they're going to get their education at Apogee.
Got it. Okay, I see. Because like with our school, they were
A big homeschooling co-op.
I see. That makes sense. Because with our school, we were told even private schools in Washington State, as a private school, the state still wants their hands in it to a certain capacity. And so they partnered with someone or some place out of Tennessee and are using their curriculum to teach our kids. So they have, I guess, an accreditation, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. The curriculum is pretty cool. Like it's 7 blocks, and they're going to go for like 7 sprints. So go in for 6 weeks, and then you have a week off, and then you go back for another sprint. And I know I'm trying to memorize them, but the first one is build your tribe. So the kids, these are 5 to 11-year-olds, and they're going to like take ownership of their school from day one. And they're going to pick the school mascot, the school colors. What's our identity as a tribe? And it's going to be a competition between us and other Apogee schools nationwide.
Okay.
To make it more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that, right? So 1 is build your own tribe. 2 is CEO of your own life. So these are the focuses. And you're going to learn math, reading, social skills, and everything else, just focusing on life skills rather than textbooks or lectures. CEO of your own life is pretty cool too. You ask young kids like, now, are you a leader? What is a leader? Do you want responsibility? What kind of person do you want to be? And what's the habits of that type of person? Let's start building some of those habits now. And just start building to the person you want to be. It's pretty neat.
Which is actually like, man, I'm sitting here listening to you say this stuff. It's kind of like, duh.
Yeah.
like build people into who they are best suited to be.
Right.
As opposed to a cookie cutter approach, thinking that everybody,
big box mass production.
everybody's going to excel with the same curriculum or the same schedule. Is it going to be like, how many hours a day is it?
It's going to be 6 hours a day.
6 hours
like
a day?
8 to 4 or 7 to 3 or something.
Okay.
Like that. Yeah.
But you already said a lot of that is moving your body and play and being physically active.
Learning through play.
Okay. And then is it all mapped out on like how it's structured versus, or like classroom time where you're actually sitting down and doing math versus how much time you're out playing games and running around? Or is that also get to kind of fall on you, how you like to structure that?
Me, yeah.
Okay.
I do like, it was pitched that we have a morning huddle and then like 5 minutes of gratitude. It's not a faith-based school. If somebody wants to take that 5 minutes to pray, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
They want to take it to journal. They want to take it to meditate. Super. It's 5 minutes of gratitude. And then we'll probably go into calisthenics and start our curriculum after that.
Got it. And we talked about it briefly when you were here last time, but I think not having it faith-based is a smart move.
Yeah.
You know, because dude, if you are someone, like you just said, if you want to pray here, like, cool, wonderful. We celebrate that. That's awesome. Like, build your faith, right? And no one should have a problem with that anywhere, in my opinion.
Right.
But if you want to be part of it and your family is a different religion, people shouldn't be averse to it because of that either.
Freedom
you know what
religion,
I'm saying?
man.
Yeah, of course.
America.
And it's hard to find that. A lot of private schools, including ours, are faith-based programs. And I lucked out. I feel like we have a really good one that I'm happy with. But at the same time, it would be cool if there are more options like this for people to actually choose where their kids go, you know?
So we're launching 50 this year, and I think 100 Matt says 100. Tim got excited on stage in Texas and said 500.
Okay.
So we're launching more schools next year. The number we'll see, but we're launching more.
Is it 51 per state, or is that not how you guys are dividing it up?
It's the tribe is more important than geographic location. We need to make sure we have the right owners.
Got it.
Wherever there's somebody that's the right fit for Apogee and wants to, they're launching a school. We actually have 2 in Canada and I believe 1 in Australia.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And there's 2 in Washington. One's down south, closer to Oregon, Apogee Longview.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're also all the other ones are starting in September.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously the podcast is not a Washington State podcast. So a lot of listeners that are interested, if they just go to your guys' website, and does it show all of the locations of the new ones being launched?
Yeah, there's a map with pin drops everywhere there's one launched. And you click on the pin drop, and it'll bring you to that specific website.
Okay. And I'll add that in the show notes below so people can just click and go find it. But is that something before it becomes feasible, you say you need like 30 to 50 people in the shoot kind of ready to go? And are you guys already accepting families for that then?
That starts in February.
That starts February.
Yeah.
So 1 month.
1 month.
Okay. Is it kind of a universal thing across the board as far as like rates or what families can expect to pay for it, or is it changed geographically?
So what we tried to do, I did research and found the average private schooling tuition and tried to beat that by 10 to 15%.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'd come up around 12,500. That's
got it. And the thing is, like, whenever you bring up private school, that's like a talking point that people will push back on, right? And it's like, dude, what is more valuable than setting your children up for success?
I know. Nothing.
You know?
Nothing. Yeah.
And so, like, maybe you have to prioritize things differently. Maybe you have to budget differently. Maybe you have to not buy a new car every other year, whatever it is. But in my opinion, for our family, it is absolutely like top of the priority
Absolutely,
to keep
yeah.
our kids out of public education, you know? And it's like anything else. I think obviously if you're just flat broke living paycheck to paycheck, it's probably going to be tough to enroll your kids into private school. But if it's something that is even feasible, sit down, run the numbers, and prioritize things a little differently and build a plan, you're going to notice a massive difference in your children in a short amount of time.
Yeah, going back to my why story, like the next line in that was when I saw my son, excited to learn. The sense of curiosity and wonder and satisfaction in learning. And like, you can picture that sparkle in your own kid's eye right now.
Yeah.
We all can picture that. It's like, I knew I had to protect that no matter what the heck that meant. And for me, that was quitting my career as an electrician and starting the school.
Okay. So that was the catalyst. So like,
yeah,
I got to do something. That's cool, man.
I applied to Apogee August 1st and I was laid off August 2nd.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See the universe, bro.
Yeah. My boss came up. He's like, "I'm sorry, it's been real." And like, it's not where my heart is. I'm sure it showed in my work. And like, no problem. Like,
yeah.
I've been talking myself out of quitting.
Like I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So he hands me my pink slip and I like take a deep breath and I'm nervous, and not because I'm laid off, but because I know what I'm about to go do next.
Yeah.
The real work of my life, not nuts and bolts. Like I'm getting down to it now.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
And how old's your oldest again?
4.
4. Okay. So he'll be starting next fall then?
Yes.
Got it.
And I'm not one for labels or anything, but he's, autism spectrum. He needs a lot of directions. So he would have been medicated.
Yeah.
And also you were talking about the gender dysphoria and whatever, like it's happening to autistic kids at a higher percentage.
Is it just because they're searching for some type of normalcy, or like
they know they don't fit? Socially,
they're looking for answers then, huh?
Yeah. It's like I see everyone talking so easily, and I can't like break through that shell. Like, what's going on? Like, well, maybe you're not a boy. Or
yeah. Well, bro, and I don't remember if I told you when we were talking the other day, but like my daughter came home and told me that. Did I tell you that?
Yeah.
Yeah. She came home one day and she was 10 at the time. And I was like, I don't know if I'm straight or I'm a lesbian. And it's just like, you're 10.
Yeah.
You were 10, And
was that her last day of school?
That wasn't her last day, but that's when we started getting the wheels in motion to pull her out and started looking around. And to tell you the truth, man, we actually lucked out because that was right around the whole COVID era too. And dude, the public school or the private schools filled up.
Yeah.
And there was big waiting lists and stuff. And I went and met with our school and told them, you know, kind of who we are and our story and why we wanted to be part of it. And they picked us up. But there's a lot of families that even if you wanted to pull your kids from public school, unless you were willing to homeschool, there wasn't a lot of other options, you know? And bro, like, and the other thing is like, I know I'm very good at some things. There's other things that I'm terrible at. And being a homeschool teacher, because bro, like even now, my wife has to sit down and work with them a lot on their homework and their math and stuff. And like my 14-year-old is already more advanced in math than I can comprehend, you know? And so I knew that I wasn't suited for that. And me and Jenny talked about it. Like we can't
What kind
have
of math
them.
is she doing right now?
Dude, I don't know. You'd have to ask her. But no, it's funny because I was just talking to her. I was like, I don't even understand your math, but I could build a house.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I've got pretty far with addition, subtraction, and multiplication.
That's what I'm saying. I could frame a house and like, but even beyond that, like just with angles and understanding like how to build things and measure things and make it all work together and the kind of stuff that they do. And that's what I told us. Like I've been pretty successful in the things that I've done without all of that, you know? Yeah, but if you need that,
you say you're not a good teacher, but I mean, like you're somebody I would probably tap for Flex Fridays.
Yeah.
So I was just going to know what that is, but our curriculum, the CEO of Your Own Life and whatnot, we do Monday through Thursday, and then Flex Friday, we have a parent come in and teach something that they're interested in.
Yeah. Okay.
They might not be an expert in it, but I'm interested in this. Let's be co-curious together. Let's figure this out and do it together.
Well, let me rephrase that then, because I know I'm an exceptional teacher at the things that I have a passion for.
Absolutely.
100%. And bro, I went through a period of time, and you probably did too, as a black belt, where like dealing with kind of imposter syndrome. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean, you were training with Randy Couture. I was training with Boucher. We're literally training with these guys that are world champions
multiple times.
Yeah. You know, and it's easy to start to be like, dude, I'm not one of those guys. But if you're trying to be one of those guys, therein lies the problem.
Right.
I'm not trying to be Boucher. You're not trying to be Randy Couture. And I would say in my 40s is where I grew into like being very proud of my capabilities, my skill sets, what I bring to the table. And then what follows that is the confidence to impart it on others.
Right.
You know, when I say I wouldn't be good for homeschool, it's exactly kind of what we talked about earlier is like, even though I'm in private school, this is the curriculum. And I look at the curriculum and I'm not suited to teach that curriculum, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe I just need to take the Apogee approach and be like, you know what? Yeah. Like you just need to learn real life. All right. We're going to teach you real life, dude. But it's weird. I mean, a lot of children, they leave the public education system without an understanding of basic real life skills.
We have a elevator pitch that's school teaches you to be good at school. Life demands that you're good at life.
Uh-huh.
So we go with life challenges and projects, and kids have responsibilities on our campuses. Like you get to high school and they're running the kitchen and they hired middle schoolers to be their sous chefs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
No, I like all that, man.
So there's no grades, there's no homework, but you have responsibilities, and it's clear as day when you're meeting your responsibilities and not. So we don't have to give you an F and be like, take that. Like, no, like the whole community can see you're not meeting your responsibilities or you're exceeding or.
Bro, I think there's going to be this, in my opinion, has the potential to really, really blow up.
I think this is going to be huge.
Because even though you guys are really in the infancy stage of it, you know, you have one school with the idea of launching 50 more next fall. But even when 50 are up and running, there's still going to be a lot of like kind of kinks to iron out as you're it's kind of a new experiment, you know?
Right.
But if you look at what are our youth missing more than anything, I would say, is I don't care how good they are at math or how well they read. Bro, a lot of them don't even feel like they can function as human beings, you know?
They're
Like
not being shown how to
just
either.
talking to people, having confidence, like understanding how their body works, like basic things that like should just kind of be part of the human experience. And it's cool to see that there's a group of people like, dude, we're bringing this back.
Yes.
You know, like you said, Tim, one of Tim's things that he's been saying is he wants to, was it the word overthrow the Department of Education or take over or whatever, right?
He's probably uses words like that. Yeah.
And I'm not trying, that's my word. I'm the overthrow guy. I'm not putting words in Tim's mouth, but
Matt Beaudreau says we're building a viable replacement.
Okay, there you go. There's the me and Tim will overthrow,
right,
and you guys will build a viable replacement.
There we go. We can work together.
Yeah, but it's cool, man. How is it received by the kids themselves as opposed to their parents?
So I haven't launched a school yet, so I haven't been able to.
But you haven't got any feedback from the one that's up and running?
Tim says that his last day of school last year was heartbreaking. The kids were crying. They didn't want to go home for the summer.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you know what that tells me?
You don't see that at public school.
What that tells me is he's being successful at tapping into the tribe.
Right.
Because, bro, I mean, I see it in jiu-jitsu. When somebody moves...
Project one of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Build your tribe.
When somebody moves and has to leave this team, like, it's a problem. And it hurts them. And it hurts the team. And what better thing to impart on children that's like, man, working together with people, building meaningful relationships, being someone that you can rely on, you know?
Yeah.
I like that idea, the sous chef. It's like, hey, I'm going to be running the deal here, and I need to be able to count on you to do A, B, and C.
Talking about 14 and 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
Running the school's kitchen.
And dude, like, that's another thing that I think it's not just the American education system, but it's kind of the American way of life is we act like people are children until they're 18, or now we act like they're children until they're 22.
Until they're 40.
Yeah, until they're 40. And it's like throughout history, there was men that were warriors at 14 years old.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like a 14-year-old, we call him a 14-year-old boy, but a 14-year-old, I have 14-year-olds that are young men on the mats. And they're capable.
That's a good segue.
They're capable of a lot more than we act like they are. And people are going to rise to kind of like the expectations you set on them, you know?
Yeah.
If you treat a 14-year-old like a little baby, he's probably going to be a little baby.
2 points on that. Our founding fathers were, 18 to 22 years old?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And then also, Apogee, North Sound also has a young men's mentoring program, 12 to 18-year-olds, young men.
Okay.
Boys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we treat them like men. And that's mostly online. But I'm working with a family law lawyer, and we're talking to probation officers, and we're working on a program where a young man can choose to do Apogee and jiu-jitsu over juvenile detention for 6 months.
Bro, keep me posted on that.
Yeah.
And my mat room is open to you guys.
Absolutely.
Because that, as someone that was in law enforcement for a long time, I talk about this often on the show. Our judicial system is broken. It's broken for a lot of reasons, but one reason that I saw reoccurring over and over and over is we take these young men that are involved in criminal behavior and they enter the criminal justice system and they do their time and then they get out, and now they can't do this because it's on the record. They can't do that. And getting a job here is hard. And like what you find is it starts to becoming a revolving door for them, and it's a cycle that's hard for them to break. And a lot of them are cool kids.
Yeah.
They're cool people. They just got caught up in bullshit and gangbanging. And I was in Los Angeles for a long time. So I got
some leadership and to know that somebody cares.
Exactly. And put them on the right path, you know?
Yeah.
And like, it's funny. I have one of my favorite students of the gym. He just did last week's podcast. He said, when I was new here, I was reluctant to open up to get to know people because half the team is cops. And he goes, and half of them have probably put me in handcuffs and had me in the back of their car at some point. He goes, it took a long time for me to realize, is like, dude, this team judges people on their character, not their past.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. Your decisions do play a role on how we treat you because you have to be held accountable for your actions, but it doesn't indefinitely define you. And if we can teach young men like, hey, we've all went through a phase of our life where we do stupid shit and make bad decisions. This is how you get out of it.
Right.
And I think, dude, I think that could really take off.
Yeah. And I'm not the only option. Like there's churches that do the same thing or basketball clubs or whatever. So the cool thing about that is a kid that ends up with me chose me. Like I want to be with the Apogee / MMA grappler guy.
Yeah.
It gives me the best chance to reach them and lead them.
And dude, like I said, we got that I'll show you sometime the piece of property we have 12 minutes up the street, which is 2,100 linear riverfront property, shooting range. Like you could do a lot of cool stuff out there with those kind of kids.
Yeah.
You know?
That'd be awesome.
And I mean, what better way to give back?
Yeah.
And that's something you say you're currently or you're already looking into that and working towards that, or is that something down the road?
The Young Men Mentor Program launches in April.
Okay. But that is separate from the program for basically kids that are getting in trouble.
5-11-year-olds. Oh, no.
Or that's all part of it. Like, hey, you can join the young men mentoring program in lieu of.
It's going to be pretty much the same curriculum. I need to go over it specifically with Matt Beaudreau. Because he makes curriculum that we're striving for the apogee, the unachievable, but we're always trying. So when a judge looks at the curriculum and says, okay, they're going to do all this or they're going back to jail, I don't want to hand them something that's unachievable. So
yeah.
But we are going to build a digital portfolio with these kids. So, I mean, they'll have projects and challenges and internships and interview people, and maybe we can get them on podcasts and some jiu-jitsu. And they can just build a digital portfolio. And this is what I've done. These are the projects I've taken. And I talked to this guy and interned here, as well as learn grappling on the mat.
Yeah.
Then they can take that portfolio. And we have a partnership with Praxis. So discoverpraxis.com. And this is how like starting careers used to be, where you'd go and get experience, where they didn't demand that you have experience, but didn't want to give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you slightly like lower wages, but they're good. They're like 60 to 80,000 still.
Okay.
And you can sign on for 3 months, and anybody with the stamp of approval from Apogee that usually gets right into Discover Praxis, and they get a cool job and a 3-month trial.
So is Praxis kind of like matching people with jobs based on what they bring to the table? Is that okay?
Yeah. Somebody, Praxis company reached out recently to Matt with a $85,000 a year bottling distribution job. It's like, anybody you say is good for this job, we're going to hire.
Man, that's cool.
Yeah. I don't know who, I think it went unfilled because I think Matt felt that there was nobody like.
He was comfortable putting it in. Yeah. But it also sounds like all of this stuff is kind of new. Like it's also happening, but
it's not like the young men couldn't handle it. It's just, he felt nobody was a good fit. Maybe they're something better fit for them.
Yeah.
So these kids are awesome. Like I go on young men calls because I'm going to be leading my own group. So I check it out. And they're asking questions of the mentors that most adults, they're having conversations way more articulate than I am. I'm not a super articulate person, but to hear it coming from a 13-year-old, it's awesome. It's great to see.
Bro, it goes back to what I was saying, and I see it with my jiu-jitsu kids. There's so much more going on than you would think is going on in the life of a 13, 14, 15-year-old.
Yeah.
They already have a lot of depth as a person and a lot of curiosity and a lot of opinions and a lot of ideas. And it's like, man, there's so much here that we could capture.
Teenager wasn't even a concept, 50, 60 years ago.
I know, bro. Like me and Jenny.
Extending childhood.
Yeah, me and Jenny have been watching a bunch of different documentaries on the Roman Empire. It's like one of the fathers said to his daughter, it's like, I've betrothed you to so-and-so at the age of 14, and I'm sorry that it took so long. You should have been married 2 years ago. I'm like, and that wasn't that long ago.
Right.
You know, like 12-year-olds were being betrothed and starting families and stuff. And now, like you said, we're looking.
See, now you got me uncomfortable. That's not what I was saying.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Shouldn't be betrothed in our 12-year-olds.
No, don't get me wrong, bro. We're all on the same team there.
Yeah.
Andy Frisella's wood chipper is
Oh yeah,
is running and ready for anybody that
I
wants
used to
to
be an electrician, man. Let's get that going.
that wants to play that game. Trust me. But I'm just saying, like the world didn't look at children as children for much of history, you know? And obviously it's like anything else as we evolve as a people and grow, like, okay, we do need to protect children and treat them in a manner that keeps them safe and helps them grow into who they need to be. But I feel like the scales have tipped so far that we're just letting them be babies until they're 25 years old, still living in their mom's basement playing video games.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like everything in American culture. It's like protecting our children and saying, hey, you know what? You're not going to hold the same amount of responsibilities and stuff. Comes from a good place probably initially, but then it's a slippery slope. And before we know it, it's like, hey, I have 4 degrees in poli-sci and I'm 27 and I have never done anything.
I can't make a macaroni and cheese.
Yeah. Or like you hear all these horror stories of like kids working at different places. And it's like, did you see that video that went kind of viral where a kid was in Starbucks crying because he's like, I forget what his gripe was, but he's like, there's too many customers and a person called in sick. And now we are understaffed and it's just, I can't handle this. And it's like, bro, if you can't make coffee for a day because you're understaffed and that's your breaking point. Like, dude, kids your age were jumping into fucking for World War II. You know what I mean? Like kids were lying about their age so they could put on a parachute and go kill Nazis.
Right.
And now you're crying because of coffee. And that's where we're at, dude. You know? But it's this kind of stuff that has the, I don't want to put all my eggs in the basket and get too excited, but the possibility to change the trajectory, you know? Right. I mean, there is a part of me, and it's no surprise to the listeners, it's like, I just don't, all the good men in the world can come together with good ideas and try and put our heads together and try and help. But there's a part of me that feels it's going to take a massive catastrophe to show people what real hardship looks like. And then we fight out of that hardship. And now we hold perspective. Because the people that are choosing, because I always say perspective can find you or you can find perspective, right?
Right.
You can go do hard things and go to parts of the world that people are living in very like Afghanistan, you know, like I lived there for, when you put my deployments together, probably a year and a half in Afghanistan and about 5 years in Iraq. I got to see a lot of perspective that I get to hold. But if you haven't done that and you haven't volunteered to go out and kind of experience the world and see how good we have it, it's easy to sit home and then get caught up in how bad everything is and how everything sucks. And so I don't know if enough people are willing to put themselves out there and find that perspective until perspective comes and finds us.
Yeah.
And that's not doomsday shit. It's humanity, you know?
Did you watch that Yuri Brezmenov video I sent you?
I have not yet. No.
Okay, no problem. But my whole point of sending that was when they were thinking of how to destroy America, is rather than like guns a-blazing, they went soft power.
Yeah.
Like we're going to corrupt a generation of kids that will corrupt the next generation. So that's kind of, we're just doing that in reverse right now. Like soft power. We're going to educate these kids and get them to take responsibility again. So yeah, you say perspective might come find you. It might come shitstorm and might be militia time eventually. But for now, like, let's get these kids going.
100%, bro. And that's the thing. It's like, I talk about it on the show very often. I do think America is probably going to enter into a dark time in our lifetime. I think we're going to see it, right?
Of some type of collapse.
Yeah, we are on the verge of something. And to say otherwise, I think you're kind of just putting your head in the sand. But with that said, that doesn't mean we're not full steam ahead with all of these missions. Right. With building our youth, with building the jiu-jitsu team, with educating our children, with doing all the things that need to happen, because we'll deal with that when it happens, right?
This makes me more determined.
Yeah.
Like if there's going to be some type of collapse, these kids really need to be.
You're going to need leaders and strong players even more so, you know? But as opposed to like focusing on that or allowing that to be like a deterrent. It should
Right.
actually be a motivator.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And plus, I also don't think that there should be any nerves or any like anxiety around that. Like the human experience since the beginning of time has been one of periods of joy and periods of turmoil. And America had a long period of joy. And I think we're probably going to enter a period of turmoil, and that's okay.
It's a very popular saying now, the fourth turning. Like,
Yeah.
that's where we are. And you hear it a lot. So it's just part of growth.
And exactly. I like it. I like
Yeah.
how you articulate that's a part of growth. You say you're not an articulate person. You are. Because, dude.
In my head, I'm still that kid that was on meds that can't figure out how to get in the conversation.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm battling that and I'm overcoming that and finally realizing that I can, have conversations and hold a podcast.
Fuck yeah,
and
bro.
do
That's
public
awesome,
speaking
dude.
and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's my monster that I had to slay.
And bro, and that's like, how sad is that the system that's supposed to be building you up actually kind of pushed you down into that place to make you feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I forget who said it. It was a good quote. I was educated once. It took me years to get over it.
Uh-huh. No, man, I think all this stuff is very relevant. And if we don't do this, if we don't try some things like this, you can already see where the current trajectory is taking us.
Yeah.
So it's almost an obligation,
That's why the electrician job was killing me so much. Like I was working, 40 hours a week. I turned down overtime, but 40 hours a week and another 20 in the car to maintain the status quo.
Yeah.
Am I happy with the status quo? No. Like I want a stronger community. I want a better future for my kids. Like 60 hours a week to maintain the status quo is soul sucking.
For sure,
not
man.
doing it.
And that's another reason to go back to what we were just saying. Like if we're going to enter any type of unrest or just like a dark period of time for America, I look at like my grandfather's lives that were just status quo. Like just woke up and went to work and clocked in and
Like it was
came
an
home.
accident. Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit, man, they went their whole life and then they retired and then they died. And that is not an existence that appeals to me at all. I would rather be part of some crazy, crazy times and watch like potentially the rebirth of America or partake in the rebirth of America or just see some really like dramatic ups and downs in the human experience and get to feel those, know?
Yeah.
And as opposed to being afraid of it, it's like, no, just embrace it. We might go through some really, really hard shit. And guess what? That's better than just fucking punching my ticket or punching my time card every day and feeling neutral my whole life, which is what so many people feel.
This is a huge focus on Apogee mentoring programs is being intentional with your time and every action and everything you do, just being intentional about it instead of just drifting through.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I've heard Matt use some words that are recognizable and he's kind of making them his own. I think I heard him say global leader.
Uh-huh.
I heard Sean Briscom say we're going to own nothing and like it.
Yeah.
But in 501c3 talk.
Yeah.
Not in the other way that's
not
probably
in
meant.
not in the WEF, you'll live in 15-minute cities talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's cool to kind of hear some of those concepts flipped on its head and be like, okay, but this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah. No, man, we are going to need a generation of people, like, regardless of what type of dark times are ahead, if we don't have young leaders that are willing to fight and stand up and have opinions and be willing to push back, be willing to say no. So many people are afraid to say no.
Right.
That it's shocking to me. And it's like, dude, the government is not my boss.
No.
The government doesn't own me. They don't own my decision-making process or my opinions. And it feels like everybody is so averse to, behind closed doors, we'll talk about how uncomfortable it makes us feel and how we don't like what they're doing and we don't like what they're saying. We don't like the agenda. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on. But publicly, a lot of people won't stand up and push back. And I feel like the generation of men that are willing to do that is like our generation is one of the last ones. Sure, there's going to be people of every generation that are willing to, but I feel like the percentage is getting smaller and smaller. And that's exactly like what you said. It's by design.
When I was talking to Wes, I described it like they built this cage. And like, in here, guys, it's super safe. Nobody's allowed to say naughty words. Nobody has guns. If you suck at sports, that's okay. Everyone gets a trophy.
Yeah.
And like everything's free, and education and everything's free. So they built the cage, and like 75% of people just walked right in.
Yeah.
And they're looking at each other like, can we just force the rest of them in there?
Yep. That's what's happening, man.
Yeah.
And what's shocking to me is a lot of people would hear you say that and think, you're crazy. That guy's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
But that's because they're in the cage.
Right.
And they can't see out of it. You
and
know?
We're here to teach the next generation. Like, that's not everything it looks like it is. Like, I'd stay out of there.
Well, I mean, isn't the I always like to throw statistics out on my podcast that are just thought up in my head and not accurate, but it's something like the U.S. government is the biggest employer to ever exist.
Yeah.
Think about that, bro. Like, when more people are working for the government than any organization ever, that's probably a problem.
Right.
Right? Like, so many people are going to work, even people that are going to work for the government, because I was one of those guys, are having our paychecks, 30% of it docked to go back to paying the paycheck of more government workers. And it's like, dude, this is not sustainable, you know? We'll see what happens though. What initially got you into, I know you, like you said, wrestling kind of help you break out of that traditional school mold. Was that the natural progression then after you got out of school, like just to stick with grappling?
Yeah.
You found
wrestling.
jiu-jitsu?
I found jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Wrestling, just because I'm a bigger guy.
Uh-huh.
I was 215 pounds in high school. I was state champion powerlifter.
Oh, you're one of them too, huh? Damn.
6'3", state champion powerlifter, big. Like, I naturally fell into a leadership position, even though I didn't have the skills or confidence yet. But it forced me to step into that role. And I definitely found that at Extreme Couture.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you graduated in, you said Maine, right?
Maine.
And then how did you end up at Extreme Couture? Because that's in Vegas, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go there for that team?
I did, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
With what type of aspirations? You want to fight MMA?
I wanted to be a small fish in a big pond rather than a big fish in a small pond.
Got it.
So,
Bro, I tell my team all the time here, to the young absolute stud savages, I was like, if you want to take it to the next level, I said, I got the contacts,
right.
But it's going to take you moving and being in a mat room with Buchecha and all those guys. Well,
Right.
Buchecha is no longer with, he's still a check mat guy technically, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But exactly, if you're the toughest dude in the room and you're trying to be something on these mats, you're in the wrong room.
Yep.
You know? And so, man, at a young age, you understood that concept. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I moved to Las Vegas from Maine. It's like 2,200 miles. Just picked up and left.
Uh-huh.
I stayed in a friend's living room for a little while and just trained. It was my whole life.
Dude, what was that like, man? Who was all down there at that time?
Oh, when I first got there, Forrest Griffin was world champion.
Okay.
Randy Couture is heavyweight champion. Martin Campman was there.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about him, man.
Sean Tompkins, Ray Sefo, Vitor Belfort.
Dude, that's a who's list of savages, man.
Yeah.
And that was when Vitor was in, like, man, prime Vitor was scary, dude.
Yeah.
Remember wheel kicking Luke Rockholt and knocking out Bisping, just chewing through like the toughest dudes in the division.
To state the obvious, his hands are really fast.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I was a training partner for one session getting ready for the Anderson Silva fight.
Okay.
And I just started on my back in guard every round. And like, man, if one of those fists hit me, like before the blink ends from being hit, he's going to hit me 6 more times. So,
yeah. Well, dude, do you remember one of his, it might've been his first UFC fight when he fought Vanderlei Silva. Do you remember that fight?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the fight I was talking about. Yeah. Hold on.
You said Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
No, when he fought Vanderlei.
Okay, yeah.
Do you remember that? I think they were like 19.
Oh, yeah.
They were kids, man.
Yeah.
And Vitor did exactly that, dude.
Yeah.
He just threw 1-2s, but he just walked him down and threw like 40 1-2s in a row.
If one of those hit you, you're eating 8 more.
And it was like, whoa. You
Talk
know?
about motivation. Like,
and then Vanderlei went on to Pride and just murked everybody over there for a decade, you know? He went to Extreme Couture, right?
He did for a little while. He was there, and then he started his own gym.
Got it. Okay. I've heard that dude's a pretty phenomenal athlete to train with too.
I never got to.
Okay. And so when you moved there to train, was it what? I know you said you wanted to be a little fish in a big pond, but did you have aspirations of being a fighter, or you just wanted to continue being part of a team?
I just wanted to continue my journey of wrestling and that physical toughness and work that pulled me out of the funk that was my schooling education.
Got it.
Yeah. So whatever that meant, I had 2 amateur fights, and I competed in competitive jiu-jitsu a few times.
Okay.
And not a lot, but I was just growing myself in the gym. And I ended up fight coach of the amateur fight team, and I found myself more in leading.
Yeah.
And being a coach. I loved coaching much more than
fighting yourself. Yeah. And bro, you actually see that, and it's not uncommon in MMA to have coaches that don't have like big fight resumes themselves, you know?
Right.
Like, did Greg Jackson ever even have a fight? Do you know?
I think he's like 0-4.
Okay.
That was Tompkins is 0-4. So I don't know about Greg Jackson, but
still like high level coaches with very successful teams. And it's because there is a difference between coaching and competing.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
And I've actually, I would say I've grown into that here in just the last couple of years. We've been open 8 years, but I always wanted to be on the grind with the guys. And it's like, all right, we're going to do this drill for 2 minutes and put the time on the clock and push start. And then I'd grab a guy and for those 2 minutes. And it was like my training sessions as well. And this place didn't really come together until I realized like, no, I'm best suited to give back to these people as someone that's been doing this for 20 years, taking a step back from being an athlete and a competitor and being coach, because that's what I am here now.
Yeah, that's something I'm going through right now. Like I have a purple belt that's pretty good, and he's submitting black belts. And like I'm like, well, I gotta get back in shape and dominate him and handle him and teach him that way. And like, I blew up my MCL. Back in shape to with this young buck. So I'm like, no, I gotta do it intellectually now. It
for sure.
Like,
yeah.
Danaher, like.
Yeah, he's not beating his guys.
He's not jumping on the mat and handling Gordon Ryan or
not
anybody.
Even close, man.
No.
But the other side of it is, and I mean, and this is because maybe I'm still somewhere in the middle of this journey. I do like being a coach that's willing to go live with my guys and get down with them and be on the grind with them. But what I've noticed, kind of how I've divided that up is like, hey, for the first hour of practice, I'm coach and I'm here to work on your technique and help you drill and teach you. And then when we roll at the end of the night, there's 3 nights a week that I roll live with the team. And I get to train with you guys for those 3 nights. And then everything outside of that, it's more of wearing the coach's hat, you know? Because you just got off the mat. You're like, hey, can I get a couple rounds in before we record?
Yeah.
That's still fun.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I still need that. And so.
And any situation, this is new to me, so I was a little nervous, but any situation, like no matter what it is, as long as I can mellow it out with wrestling first. So.
Isn't that nuts?
It's crazy.
And for people that have never done it, it is a literal tool that you can use to like kind of just reset yourself, center yourself.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of nights.
That's where I found myself.
Yeah, dude. There's plenty of nights. I don't find it anymore because I have to be here and open the doors because I own the facility. But when I was a police officer, especially in Los Angeles, and just have a bad day, you know, and it couldn't, not necessarily work related. Like anything in life is happening and I just don't have a good day. I got to get to the gym and get some hard training in. And you start to learn like, man, jiu-jitsu is my reset.
Yeah.
And once you know that, hey, I have this little outlet that I can utilize to reset at any time, man, that's a tool that a lot of people haven't honed in yet or found within themselves. And I tell people all the time, jiu-jitsu happens to be our tool for that we've found, right? And it might be different from the next person, but you have to find it.
Right.
If you don't have that, you're missing out because I now, like a perfect example is like your hurt knee or my surgery. Once I don't have that tool, I realize how powerful it is. And it's like, God, dude, what I would
I get a little more irritable.
Yeah. What I would give to be able to just go get some hard rounds in with the guys, you know? And outside of an injury, have you ever been sad after practice? You know what I mean? It's almost impossible to hold the emotion of like sadness or sorrow or feel depressed if you just got down with the guys and you're drenched in sweat, you're exhausted.
Still in flow state for
That's
like
what I'm
an hour
saying.
after practice.
You know?
Easily.
And in my opinion, that is why jiu-jitsu is blowing up the way that it is. It's not like 99% of guys on the mat worldwide are not looking to be the next world champion.
Right.
So why do they love it so much then? It's exactly that. That's their little outlet to be able to reset and be able to put everything in your life on the back burner for these, however, for these 90 minutes or whatever it is. And that's important.
You can build a really tight-knit community too.
Bro, it's the tightest.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Like we always joke there's like we're almost borderline a cult here because of like how close everybody's become.
It's awesome.
But I always say like the caveat, I don't have access to your guys as women, so we're not a cult. Because I think that's when it officially becomes a cult, is when the guy that started it gets rights to the other members' women. It was, did you watch that David Koresh documentary?
No.
You're familiar with that story.
I probably know the story. I don't recognize it.
Down in Waco, Texas.
Okay.
And the ATF and the FBI like ended up burning their compound to the ground.
They'll come out if we set it on fire.
Yeah, like, fuck, man. That was a dark documentary. But one of the things that was crazy is he's like, hey, if you want to be part of this community, just know, like, if you want to have a child, I get to be the person to impregnate your wife. And there's men that are like, that sounds reasonable. Like, dude. And don't get me wrong. I think that was a really dark thing for the government to do. And it was super fucked up on how that whole thing played out. But like, he was a weirdo too. Yeah. But weirdos don't deserve to get killed either. No, they don't deserve to be burnt alive for being a weirdo. You want to go be a weirdo and bring a group of people together and tell them that I get your women and they're cool with that? Go live your life, dude. Yeah. You know?
A group of weirdos. Go be weird.
Go be a group of weirdos.
Don't bother other people. Don't bother me.
We're jiu-jitsu guys, so we know what being part of a group of weirdos is all about, man. So you still haven't fallen in love with the gi yet, though, huh?
No, I probably haven't even worn one since 2013.
Oh, shit. 10 years out of a gi?
Yeah.
Dang, dude.
And I wore one till I was officially a blue belt, but I knew I was purple belt level. I was handling the purple belts. Okay,
so your black belt then is you guys promote even if you train only no gi? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. I became director of a grappling program at a school in Las Vegas, so I just threw on a gi and taught gi jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
And I rolled with some brown belts from very respected gi jiu-jitsu gyms and did fine. I just translated hand fighting into, well, now I get to grab the gi and having to trick them into something.
Dude, I think a lot of it, I don't know, I go back and forth on this all the time. A lot of it carries over, obviously. Yeah. If you're a black belt in gi jiu-jitsu, you are a good grappler, right? Even if you take the gi off. But I also know that there's some substantial differences too.
Like I said, I wore the gi until about purple belt level, and I felt like I was already using it in ways that was more sport than practical for an actual fight. Yeah. But it's fun.
That's the thing that you always have to weigh in jiu-jitsu. I talk to my team about this often because like, and the analogy that I use is like, there's a basketball court on the way home from my gym to my house. And I'm never going to pull over and roll my window down and be like, hey, would that work in a fight? Yeah. Because those guys are just out there having fun playing a game. Right. Right. And so I tell my team, there is aspects of what we do here that is simply having fun playing a game, moving your body, getting a sweat on, getting your heart rate up.
Kinetic chess.
Yeah. And it is a fun game to play. And if you like doing inverted de la Hiva and rolling back takes and stuff, I think all that stuff is cool. But I also think that part of your jiu-jitsu is understanding what is self-defense based and what is part of this game. Now, sport jiu-jitsu, you take any purple belt world champion and get him in a fight in a parking lot, he's going to murder the person. Yeah. Right? aside from like some high level kickboxer that catches him with a knee on the way in or whatever. Sport jiu-jitsu teaches you scramble. It teaches you base. It teaches you balance. It teaches you hip position, moving your hips and creating angles in relation to your opponent's angles. All those things are imperative in real fighting, right? But at the same time, I'm not going to pull guard and put a lasso in on a guy's Carhartt jacket.
Yeah.
You know? And I just think you have to be honest with yourself. You have to understand.
We won't be rolling for omoplatas in a street fight.
Yeah. But if you do, I want to get the security camera footage.
Right.
You know? I tell my team that all the time. Like, if you get some, if you get an Imanari roll to a heel hook in a parking lot, please give me I just want the footage.
Yeah.
But there is no right or wrong. There just is. And I think you have to have an understanding of what you want out of jiu-jitsu and then just being honest with yourself.
My choice to be more of a no-gi guy is I like McDonald's over Burger King.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's interesting because guys will watch people like the Meow Brothers or Mikey Musumeci, and you read the comments on Instagram and it's like, oh, that's butt scooting, that's a bunch of gay shit, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I can understand how you can think this isn't applicable to a fight, right? But not everything has to be applicable to a fight, you know? And if you wanted to fight those guys in a full contact fight to the death, it would probably be a lot tougher than you think.
Dude, talking about butt scooting, like I watched a Gordon Ryan instructional. And I'm like 7 hours in, and it's all still just hand fighting. It's awesome. Like the detail, it's cool. I like it. But,
bro, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an armbar guy.
Yeah.
I always tell people I'm more of a one-trick pony than anything. I want to take you down, pass your guard, isolate an arm, and then take it.
Vinny Margules is the best armbar player I've ever grappled with.
Oh, yeah? That dude's a savage, man.
I can't even think of an armbar player close.
Vinny, he beat Gordon Ryan, like, back in the day, right?
I think he was he the last person to beat him?
I think he might have been.
Yeah.
But, man, it's like...
Vinny was built of rubber. He's really frustrating. So I don't tap to leg locks, and he just had a rule. He just doesn't tap to leg locks.
Oh, really?
And it worked for him until he was 39 years old, and Craig Jones finally broke his leg. But it worked. A world championship, multiple world championships, almost 40 years old, and finally caught up with him one time.
The Meow Brothers say that too. We don't really tap when people attack our feet. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I can understand not tapping and just having the mental fortitude to accept injury to be able to complete a match. That concept makes sense to me. Right. But just for your bones not to break, you know? And Joao actually, he started doing this yoga pose where he basically puts his feet behind him and lays back like a quad stretch, right?
Okay.
But then he actually lifts his body up on his feet, and it's bending his toes backwards, and he can hold himself in the air like that. And he told me, he goes, bro, ever since I got good at this stretch, no one can footlock me anymore. I'm like, that's nuts, dude.
Joao, I grappled him once. He seemed like a super cool guy.
He's so rad.
A year earlier, he submitted Jeff Monson, the first guy to do so in competition. So before our match, like I said his name, and he looked at me like, what's this clown want? And I shook his hand and told me he was one of my heroes.
Oh, okay.
And I could tell it really like made him happy, like genuinely smile. Like, seemed like a super cool guy.
He's a super cool guy, man.
Then the whistle blew and he tried to kill me.
yeah. That's what he did for a long time. And something that like some people find surprising about Joao, because he is this Brazilian gorilla, right? Bro, he's one of the most intelligent people I know.
Yeah.
He reads more than probably anybody I know. He understands more about like U.S. military history than I do, right? And it's like, fuck, man, I was a soldier for 10 years, and you know U.S. military history at a much deeper capacity than I ever have.
Yeah.
And he just loves books. He loves learning. And
that's why he's so good at jiu-jitsu.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, no, you're right. He is one of the nicest humans. And bro, we'll text him a picture afterwards.
Sure, yeah.
And there's a good chance he remembers, because like his brain, dude, is just like.
I'd be surprised, but that'd be cool.
All right, well, I'll see, man. To see if he remembers or not. But yeah, you told me that. Like, I couldn't remember if we had texted about grappling or not before you came out here at all. But when I was sitting in here, I was talking to some of my friends. I heard you mention like, yeah, I'm a black belt, and I was like, oh shit, dude.
Right.
That just took our relationship to another level,
Absolutely.
you know?
You had a post the other day that the higher the barrier of entry, the better you like the people to your left and right.
Yeah.
It's a pretty high barrier of entry. It's a
Of course,
small
man.
club, yeah.
And it was funny too, because I put it together after the fact, but the way that we got all the parents together, had the kids line up, and the way that you kicked your shoes off and stepped on the mats, it was with such like the way you did it. I could tell that you were extremely familiar with it, you know, and it got my wheels turning. I was like, oh, because a lot of people, I've had other people come to the gym for this or that reason. And a lot of them will just step on the mat with their shoes, you know, but it wasn't just that you took the shoes off. I could tell you've done that 15,000 times or whatever it is, you know? And then I heard you say you're a black belt, and then I put those together. I was like, oh, okay. I get it, dude.
That's why he's comfortable on the mat.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But as far as jiu-jitsu goes, when you left Extreme Couture, is that when you moved up here then?
I left Extreme Couture in 2013. I moved up here 5 years later.
And that was your jiu-jitsu hiatus, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
I went back into electrical work. I met my wife, started a family.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I took too long of a hiatus.
And then, so that means 2018, you started getting back on the mats to some capacity?
I started getting back in like the end of 2022.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So I need to get some rounds in before you fucking get yourself fully fucking dialed back in, huh?
That's what I was thinking. Like, people are going to be screwed when I get dialed back in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now I get injured though. Like,
yeah.
My MCL.
Do you, I know you said you're just kind of doing your own thing with some friends at your house, right?
Yeah.
Have you done any training with the teams locally around here?
I've done open mats.
Okay.
A few different gyms.
Got it. And that's, who's in Woodville? I guess Matt Humes in Kirkland.
Yeah. And then there's Nathan Orchard is in Bellevue.
That's right. The 10th Planet.
Yeah.
Nathan, have you got rounds with Nathan?
No.
I've watched that dude compete, and it's fucking scary.
Yeah.
That dude's a savage, man. And like I watched him, and this was like 4 or 5 years ago, but one of my toughest purple belts at the time, who was like our best competitor, just going out and murking everybody. He got, some competitions, I forget exactly what it was, but like the absolute divisions, they'll combine like purple, brown, and black.
Right.
Just everybody's advanced. And it was no gi, right? So I don't think Orchard does the gi at all either.
I don't think so.
And so, yeah, it was a no gi competition, purple, brown, and black. And he drew him. And I was like watching how well he outgrappled a guy that I know how good he is. It was pretty shocking.
Yeah.
But bro, those people are out there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, Friday nights here are typically gi, but more and more people are moving away from the gi.
I'll come in with a pink belt or something.
Yeah. And a lot of the guys will take their gis off and do no gi on Friday too.
Right.
And initially people were like, hey, is it okay? And I was like, it's an open mat. Friday Night Rolls is an open mat. So put the uniform on that serves you, Yeah. And so I would say we probably have like half and half now, or maybe like 30% doing no-gi stuff. And then some guys will do like, hey, a round with the gi on and then take it off and do a round with no gi. So we won't force you to put a gi on is what I'm saying.
I got to make that. I got to get out here. Friday night's date night with the wife, but.
Oh, that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
And she's not into jiu-jitsu at all?
She's 6 months pregnant.
No, but I mean, just in general in life. Has she ever dabbled in that stuff?
She has. That's where I met her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, dude, get her out here on a Friday night roll. Then.
I do want to get her back into it. She says she doesn't want to be cross-faced anymore.
Yeah. I tell you the story with my wife about how, because I was like, dude, we own a jiu-jitsu academy and you're like the face of the academy, I think it'd be really cool if you could just get to blue belt.
Yeah.
And she started training and one of my blue belts mounted her. And she said I could see the sweat forming in his chest hair, and then it dripped and it went right into my mouth. And she goes, that shit's not for me. I can't do that. And I was like,
well, if you know some sweeps or reversals.
Yeah, exactly. Like that shouldn't make you leave jiu-jitsu. That should motivate you to get better.
Right. Yeah.
Get him off of you, But
yeah, I think she'll get back into it.
Okay. Well, maybe sometime in the future then one of your date nights could be Friday Night Rolls.
Friday night at Electric North.
Hell yeah, dude. Although driving here on Friday from Woodville, nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
Like the traffic is just nuts around here. So fuck, man. Is there? Oh wait, I told you I wasn't going to swear a lot on this episode.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk to parents here.
Is there anything else about the mission of Apogee, or what you think would kind of draw people in or impress people to look into it, or anything that we haven't touched on?
Yeah, not really. I like to say I'm not trying to sell people on it. Like people that are looking to level up, or people that are looking for some alternative to the schooling. Like we're here, we're in Woodville. We're gonna be kicking butt up here, like Tim's kicking butt down in Texas. And the mentoring programs, like it's gonna be exciting to get parents a part of that as well. So I think the most important part is the young men. And like, man, we've got a bunch of 80-year-olds leading this country, boomers still.
Yeah.
It's time for new leadership. Like, we need to train people that are willing to step up and say, I got this.
No, it's really shocking that, like, if you were 85 years old and you dropped your resume off at McDonald's, they'd probably laugh at you.
Right.
Yet here we are, the most important positions, you know?
You could be president.
Yeah, but you can't serve Big Macs and
Right.
fries. No, I like that, man. And so, like, and that is also a double-edged sword, not trying to sell people, because it's like, hey, it's not my job to convince you, right? But if you can expose people and then let them make the decision,
I think the product will sell itself.
Yeah.
Once they see these kids and how they interact in the community and with adults, and like, what's up with that kid? He's with it and has a light in his eye that other kids don't. And he's, accepting responsibility. I think the product will sell itself.
I think so too, man. Yeah. And it's like, I forget, I was telling you or Josh, is your buddy that was here, right?
Yeah.
That it's like, for the gym, I don't do like big advertisements. I don't do Facebook ads. I don't put myself out there in the community either, like doing like events or anything. Cause it's like the product sells itself, and we're a word of mouth gym, and being a word of mouth gym, we're almost at the point where we have to close memberships down.
Yeah.
So like that can work if you're putting out a product that you're proud of, that adds value to people's life. And like, jiu-jitsu is one thing, right? And it creates these people that are like obsessed with it. And I was one of them. But think what you're going to be able to sell when people are like, dude, my kid went from A, B, and C to where he's at now because of this program. And now he's doing this and now he's doing that. Dude, word of mouth with people's children, it's going to travel 10 times as fast as jiu-jitsu.
I'm working on getting more comfortable getting out there, and I'm over here and the face of Apogee up here in the North Sound. So I mean, that's why I'm here.
Well, and bro, I very often say, like, this team isn't about Greg Anderson, it's about electric jiu-jitsu, right? But you also have to understand that you are in a leadership position.
Yeah.
And being in a leadership position is being able to take charge, talk about who you are, get your face out there, get involved with the community. And I'm not even talking about like setting up booths at some local event, just being present and being accessible and having people like start to understand who you are and what you do. And then once you do that, the product sells itself.
Yeah.
At least that's what I've seen, you know? And, you know, we can call it jiu-jitsu or running a school or running a supplement company. It really doesn't matter. What I've found is if people find value in the people behind the mission, they want to be part of it.
Yeah, it's in my heart. Like I'm truly in my heart. I'm not just trying to get a paycheck or make stuff up. And people can sense that, and they kind of connect with it. If it's part of their mission too, then I mean, that's awesome. Let's do it together.
Yeah. Well, and I always say this about business too, man. You create something powerful and you enrich people's lives and you change the trajectory of a community. You deserve to get compensated too. So I hope you build these people into who they want to be, and I hope you get wealthy at the same time, because for whatever reason, we have come to this place in America where like obtaining wealth is almost bad. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you shouldn't be trying to get rich, but all of our adversaries are rich.
Yeah.
So like, you know, I tell people that it's like, dude, the Jiu-Jitsu Academy is providing a good income for my family now, finally. And I'm not ashamed to admit that,
right?
You know, and that's all part of the mission, man. Like becoming physically capable, emotionally sound, and emotionally balanced, and then also financially balanced, because like it's going to take that for us to be able to be in this fight and have it sustained, you know?
I have a my parent company, LLC, In the Fight LLC. So,
Okay, there you go, man. Well, fuck, bro, if you don't have anything else, I think we can wrap this up. Is there, I know the website's not launched yet, but this podcast will be accessible indefinitely. So put out the website of, it's Apogee North Sound.
ApogeeNorthSound.com. I'm at Instagram, Apogee North Sound.
Okay.
And yeah, that's where I am right now. So
okay. And then I'll put those links in, even though that one won't be live until next month.
One more note, just on a personal note.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about leadership today and whatnot, but nothing's really exposed me to the importance of leading by example more than being a dad.
Yeah.
Like, it's so amazing to see how closely my 2-year-old's watching me, and it motivates you to be like better than you ever thought you could be. Like every day I need to be this much better because he's watching so carefully.
Man, that transition from not being a parent to being a parent.
Huge.
It's one of the most impactful things that you'll ever experience as a human being. And I'll tell you the truth, for me, because a lot of people are like, the day I picked up my son, I knew like whatever. For me, it was more of a slower burn because, man, my life was war. And then, I was gone for half the pregnancy.
Right.
And I came home and I knew that whole life was now put behind me. And now, here you go. Here's this new thing. And it was like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
What do I do? So for me, like becoming a parent was filled with a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty. But at the same time, the equal and opposite side of that is it's like, it's not about you anymore.
Not at all.
And that's actually kind of comforting, Like I always say the analogy, like if you had to fight a grizzly bear for your child right now, getting your throat bit out by a giant beast wouldn't even be something you would give a second of concern to. Don't care. Yep. Eat my whole face off if it saves my kid.
Yep.
And having that kind of like just recklessness for your own safety and your own well-being to give them just a chance is huge, man.
We'll bring this back to the focus on physical fitness. A lot of people say that they're willing to die for their kids, which we both just did.
Yeah.
Are you willing to get in shape and live for your kids?
100%, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this too, like, cause it's interesting that you said, something that you're being a big advocate for is getting parents involved with Apogee.
Uh-huh.
The most powerful thing I see coming off of the jiu-jitsu mats is when mothers and sons, fathers and daughters, fathers and sons share the journey together.
Yes.
And bro, like one of my purple belts, she is, both her boys are in my program and they've all been doing it together now. She's a purple belt. I think she's at 6 years now and they've been doing it with her the whole time. And they started at, I think Henry and Logan were either 8 and 9. I think they're 8 and 9 when they started. And now they're, 14, 15 years old and their mom's a purple belt and they're savages.
Yeah.
And it's a family mission that they share together. And she's just one example. Half of my adults these days have a child in the academy too. And bro, it's a different thing when you embark on any mission with your kid. It's just different. It has a different sense of importance to it, and it bonds you in a way that parents aren't doing activities that bond them with their children like humans used to do, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the mats is something where you get to kind of bridge that gap that has been lost, and it's really fucking powerful to see. And I guarantee you're going to see the same thing in Apogee, man, because
Absolutely.
like that is what you're looking for.
This is something I have to do. I've explained why, and I'm inviting like-minded parents. Come along, let's do it with me. Let's do it together. It's for our kids. It's for our community, next generation, our country.
Yeah, dude. So, well, bro, thank you for coming out. If there's any way that I can help, please let me know. I'm happy to use, I built a decent social media. I have a decent presence in the community through this gym. Just help you get the word out there, help you get eyes on whatever you're doing. And then, like I said, man, if you develop that youth program, especially like what you said with the kids where you're trying to give them alternatives to go into juvenile detention, use my facility, man. I would love to be part of that for sure.
Thanks,
so,
man.
All right, man. You got any final words?
No, I think I said it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, brother.